So good afternoon or good morning. My name is Bambi Kraus, and I'm the Chief of the Office of Native Affairs and Policy at the Federal Communications Commission. I want to welcome you all today to joining us for another announcement on our important pilot program on the ERate Tribal Library and Tribal Schools program. Joining me today is a host of others within the Federal Communications Commission that I'd like to, each have a chance to introduce themselves so you have an understanding of the people behind the scenes who are making this all work out. So we'll start with Kara.
Hi, again, good morning and good afternoon to folks. My name is Kara Voth, and I'm the Deputy Chief of the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau at the FCC.
Thank you. And Lloyd?
Hi, I'm Lloyd Collier. I'm an attorney advisor in the Office of Native Affairs and Policy here at the FCC.
And thanks to Lloyd, we're all able to meet today. And I'll turn it over to our sister bureau, Sue McNeil, the Associate Bureau Chief in the Wireline Competition Bureau.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Sue McNeil. I'm an Associate Chief, as Bambi mentioned, and I will turn it to Janae Schreiber.
Hello, everyone. I'm Janae Schreiber. I'm the Deputy Division Chief in the Wireline Competition Bureau and Manager for the ERate program, and I will pass it on to Kate Dumichel.
Good afternoon. I am Kate Dumichel. I work on ERate and ECF matters as Special Counsel in the Wireline Competition Bureau. Johnny?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Johnny Roddy. I am an attorney advisor with the Telecommunications Access Policy Division within the Wireline Competition Bureau, and I also help out on ERate matters.
I think that's the WCB team. And I just want to make mention that we also have a couple of individuals joining us from the Universal Service Administrative Company. We refer to it as USAC. And USAC, for those who don't know, is an independent not-for-profit organization that's designated by the Federal Communications Commission to administer the Universal Service Fund. So that annual budget is about $10 billion. So joining us from USAC, I believe, is Jem Labarta and Jamie Gustafson, who have been very active in the tribal sphere, the tribal world over at USAC. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Johnny Roddy to give a quick overview of the ERate program.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Bambi. So I'm here to talk to you a little bit today about to give an overview of the ERate program and to also then talk a little bit more about what you can expect from the pilot program. So to begin, the ERate program provides funding to eligible schools and libraries to allow them to purchase telecommunications, internet services, and the necessary equipment at affordable costs. The program's funding cap for the current funding year 2023 is $4.768 billion. Last funding year, over $3.2 billion were requested in funding. Eligible schools and libraries include both public and private kindergarten through 12th grade schools, libraries, and groups of schools and libraries. Groups include school districts and library systems and consortia of schools and libraries. The ERate program funds two types of eligible equipment and services. Category 1 services are services and equipment that bring connectivity to the school or library. This includes data transmission and internet access services. Category 2 services are the equipment and services needed to bring connectivity within the school and library. This includes internal connections, for example, Wi-Fi access points and equipment, cabling, routers, and other equipment necessary to have Wi-Fi throughout the school or library. Category 2 services also include basic maintenance of internal connections and managed internal broadband services, or MIBs. I like to think of Category 1 in terms of the water line to a building, and Category 2 as the piping that moves water throughout the building, and the sinks and spigots that provide access to that water. The way the ERate program works is that eligible schools and libraries receive funding for 20 to 90% of the costs of the eligible equipment and services. The amount of the discount is based on the school or library's level of poverty, whether it is located in a rural or urban area, and whether it is a Category 1 or Category 2 service. Now, there is no set budget on the amount of funding that can be requested for Category 2 equipment and services. However, there is a 5-year budget for Category 2 services. The minimum amount of funding is $25,000 per school and library. However, for funding year 2024 and moving forward, tribal libraries will have access to up to $55,000 for Category 2 services over a 5-year funding period. In January 2022, the Commission modified the ERate program's definition of library by adding tribal library, clarifying that tribal libraries are eligible to receive ERate funding. Tribal governments can designate a library as a tribal library and can do this through, for example, a tribal resolution. Tribal libraries just need to have 3 basic characteristics of a library: regularly scheduled hours, staff, and materials available for library users. Tribal libraries may also work with the state library administrative agency where they are located. Now, the pilot tribal libraries seeking ERate funding, and it will provide participants with assistance through the ERate process. That means assistance in preparing the application process and in receiving ERate support. You will receive an overview of the ERate program, learn about program rules and requirements, and be provided with tools and resources to aid you during the process. You will receive guided ERate training using the ERate Productivity Center system and be walked through the competitive bidding and application process. You also receive technical training that will help you to better understand the requirements and process of the program, while also providing insight into the equipment and services that your library needs. Finally, you'll have the opportunity to provide feedback on ways to improve the ERate program and the application process. The pilot program is open now, and we invite any tribal libraries that are new to the program or have had challenges applying to ERate in the past to submit an application survey. Interested tribal libraries can access the application survey at tinyurl.com/tribal library pilot. The survey will ask for some information about your tribal library, including a brief description of the library and existing broadband resources, the broadband services your library would like to offer to its patrons, contact information, and tribal affiliation. We are very excited to support the Tribal Library Pilot Program for the upcoming year. Last year, as a result of the pilot program, several tribal libraries received ERate funding for the first time, and 2 participants from last year's programs are here today to talk to you about the program. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at native@fcc.gov or tribaltraining@usac.org. We are accepting applications on a rolling basis, so apply soon. Events for the pilot will begin in early October. Here are some other resources and additional contact information. Again, please contact us if you have any questions about the program. And with that, I will hand it back to Bambi.
Thank you very much, Johnny. And we should mention that the way the webinar is set up is that we will take questions in chat only, and we'll also post helpful information in chat. So that's going to be the main function. We're trying to keep this webinar down to a very short amount of time. We know everyone's busy just coming back from the summer, and so that's our streamlined version of today's informational webinar. First, we're going to hear from a participant from last year. It's Kevin Hamer, who is the manager of the Akiak Tribal Library up in Alaska. So, Kevin.
Thank you, Bambi. My name is Kevin Hamer, and I'm the manager of the Akiak Tribal Library, which was created after or in conjunction with the new FCC rule in January of 2022, which made the ERate program eligible for tribal libraries. The process of creating our tribal library was very easy. It was done through the tribe itself instead of the state, so we had that benefit. And then, as Bambi will probably attest to, when the Tribal Library Pilot Program came out last year, I lobbied hard. I applied early, and I was all over the process to get into the Tribal Library Pilot Program. And fortunately, we were one of those that were accepted last year into the pilot program. I highly encourage anyone who's listening to this and considering getting broadband, sustainable broadband through the ERate program for their tribal library, apply to join the pilot program. It has been a game changer for the Akiak Native community and our tribal library. The Yak-Yak Native community is our tribe is a very remote tribe located in Western Alaska in an area called the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, which is larger than the size of the state of Washington. It's an area of 56 federally recognized tribes that are not served by terrestrial broadband connectivity, so they're generally considered unserved. Hopefully that'll change in the future. There are some grants that will provide that, some affordable broadband in the future, but today there isn't any terrestrial fiber-based or cable-based broadband available to our communities. We realized, looking at all the options, that the ERate program was going to be a game changer for our tribal community. We're one of those that are eligible under the ERate program for up to 90% of ERate funding for our broadband service. So applied to get into the program. We got into the tribal library pilot program. We were assigned a tribal library advocate, Ben Yehuda, who I'll shout out. He's not on this, but he was instrumental, worked with us, worked with me throughout the application process in USAC, through the USAC system to apply for the ERate program. We received training from the FCC, training seminars specifically tailored to tribal library needs, which again helped me understand the different cycles of the ERate application process when you needed to submit a 470, what that was. And then there are actual, as I found out, there are actual videos, training videos that were available. Now they're tailored generally to the school ERate program, not necessarily for tribal libraries, but they're very useful as I went through the USAC application process to go ahead and look at those training videos, which are available on site, and find out each step of the way what the application process was in the system and what they were looking for as I submitted the application and the different forms. So that was all said, we were successful in our application. And for communities like ours, this will be the only available broadband option for many of our tribal citizens. And it's a game changer for our remote communities where they can get funding every year, sustainable funding mechanism, so that every year we can apply for the ERate program for our tribal library and provide that service, provide that connectivity for our remote unserved tribal communities. So I can't say enough about the pilot program itself, but about the ERate availability for tribal libraries. I think the FCC has moved in a tremendous direction in making that available for tribal libraries. So it's a game changer for our remote communities. We may be the first in our area of the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta to get into the ERate program for our tribal library. But I can assure you we won't be the last. So thank you again to the FCC, the USAC, tribal library advocates. It has been, as I said, a game changer for our community, and it will be for many of the tribes in our remote areas of the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. And Kevin, you'll be able to stay on with us through, this is a short 30-minute webinar. So again, please ask questions in chat, and an FCC staffer is monitoring and answering as we go along. So next I'll call on Sam Cohen, who is the Government Affairs and Legal Specialist for the Santa Ynez Band of Chumash Indians that's located in California. Sam?
Thank you, Bambi. It's a pleasure to be here. I also was privileged to be selected to be on the FCC Native Nations Task Force. And I've learned so very much from Bambi and the rest of the task force. But I was most enlightened by the FCC order last year, January 27th, that allowed tribes to self-designate tribal libraries. So we took a stab at it, and our tribal business committee designated our learning center as a tribal library. I cannot say enough about the learning center. We have almost 100% high school graduation rates, thanks to their providing of before school and after school tutoring and the large availability of books. And it's recently been expanded. So after we designated the Learning Center as a tribal library, we filled out the application, and we had an incredible amount of assistance from the FCC in the form of the Universal Service Administrative Company, which I guess they abbreviate USAC, and they walked us through the application. And probably the most confusing part of the application is the competitive bid process. You have to put out your proposal for 28 days. But the tribe was fortunate that they pulled fiber to at least the casino years ago. And that particular broadband provider, Frontier, was the low bidder. And they bid to provide 1 gigabyte of fiber dedicated through the ERate program. And that was approved on July 1st. We had such a good experience that the tribe is also in the process of building an absolutely beautiful 14,000 square foot museum and cultural center. And it will have a large quantity of books and educational material. So the tribe made a second resolution designating its museum as a tribal library. And it's currently going through the competitive bid process. And we're within the 28-day window. So we're not really sure if Frontier will be the successful bidder again or not. I just cannot, extol the virtues of the FCC, Universal Service Providers, and USAC. They're always there for you. They walk you through the application. What seemed to be insurmountable and technical actually was very doable, and I encourage everyone to apply in their tribally designated library. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. And again, I want to just share that both Kevin and Sam were participants in last year's pilot program, where they were in the first cohort. And the application is open now for the second round of the pilot program. So that concludes our formal presentation, and now we are available to answer questions via chat. So I see that most of them are being answered, and I don't believe people are calling in. So hopefully if you joined via computer or phone, you can see the chat. So I'll just go down through some of the questions and read along with you. So the events page for this webinar, we'll post the short slide deck on that. And there's a link in there for that events page. And another question is, Kevin, I'll let you answer that. I think they want your contact information. You might get that. You can either, if you feel comfortable putting it in chat, feel free.
Yeah, I think I let Lloyd know I'm comfortable if he puts it in chat. That's fine. I'm glad to help. Many people have helped me. I'm going to certainly turn around and do the same. Please feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you. And the question about the tribal college libraries that are serving as a community library are eligible to apply as long as they meet the qualifications. And that is posted in the chat again. And that's for this funding cycle that's coming up. A recording of this webinar will be available on the same events page. I believe that's accurate, Lloyd. You could confirm that, please.
Yes, on the event page, we'll have a recording at some point.
Great, thank you. The most recent one is from Jason Morris. My library already has public broadband access. How can we take advantage of ERate? Can we use it to provide public Wi-Fi, which we don't provide currently? So I'll see if someone from the WCB Bureau wants to answer that live or via chat, or do we want to get back to the person who asked the question?
So this is Kate Dumichelle. I am not sure what is meant by public Wi-Fi. So tribal libraries can take advantage of ERate to request funding for the broadband access, including the internet access to the library building itself. But equipment for Wi-Fi networks like wireless access points and cabling and routers, that is also eligible for ERate discounts. So Wi-Fi access, on the library campus, the equipment needed for that is eligible for ERate.
Well, I think that might be the last point you made. Sounds like that would be the answer. So if Jason Morris, if you want to add any more to the question, or if you still have any remaining questions on that, please post it in chat. So while we wait for any other questions, Kevin or Sam, did anything else come to mind about your experience that would be a good tip for those who are considering applying for the pilot program this year? Besides being the first to do it, Kevin.
I would suggest look at the deadlines and be very careful of making sure. One of the things that I ran into, and thank God, again, I had the help from USAC and my tribal library advocate, Ben, is that when you certify your application after going through the competitive process and all that, and you're ready to certify your application, make sure that you have already entered into whatever agreement with your service provider, and that's in writing, signed, whatever contract, whatever agreement for the service provider that's the successful service provider through your competition. Make sure that you have a signed agreement with them to provide that service prior to your final commitment, certifying it, your application in the USAC system. Just a tip that thank God I did it the right way, because that was a close call for me. Sam?
I have to say, be fearless. And whenever you have a question, set a Zoom call with USAC as soon as you can and resolve the issues. The process does take a little bit of time, so you have to be committed to the process, but any questions will be speedily resolved by USAC. And the resolution is not that arduous. You just have to make 3 factual findings, and if I can do it, anyone can. How's that?
Thank you. I think what I've heard and before the pilot program and then during the past year is how detailed this program is in applying for it. And so I think that those are very helpful tips. And again, I think every case is unique. So it's really difficult to provide answers that cover every particular situation for every tribe and tribal library. So I encourage people to reach out to the contact information. Maybe we should put that up, Johnny, so people can make sure that they capture that. And again, so every situation can have a little nuance on it, which makes it almost impossible to give one answer for every tribal community. But I think that together as we run into the second year of this, to me, is a very exciting, positive program. I think that we all learn a lot about the program and how to improve the program and how to achieve what the commission has stated as one of the priorities, which is to provide ERate to tribal libraries and tribal communities. I don't see any new questions. Again, this was a short webinar to make sure that people were aware you're back from summer vacation, whatever you were doing, and just to make sure you're aware that the application time is open now for this program, and we want to make sure we made ourselves available to all of you in terms of what you can how you can find out more information and how you can apply. And so we have more helpful information posted in chat for those of you who want to capture that quickly. The USAC ERate customer service number is the same on the slide in the hours. And Jem Labarta is the tribal liaison, and I believe she's with us today. So we'll wait a minute for any additional questions, but I believe that we've shared with you what we're hoping to get across, which was let's go on the tribal library, ERate, tribal schools. So we'll be here until for 3 more minutes, and then we will conclude the presentation. I see a mahalo. I'm assuming that's from somebody in Hawaii.
Hey, Bambi, if you don't mind, please, I think your application process to join the tribal library pilot program is about the same as last year. Everyone out there who's thinking about doing it, it's an easy, painless application process. It's simple. If you're thinking about getting a tribe, using ERate for your tribal library, that application to join the pilot program is one of the easiest you'll go through. So please apply. It worked for us. It certainly will work for you. As Sam was saying, if I can do it, if he can do it, it's out there. It's available for you.
Great, thank you. Okay. Well, I think our people are dropping off as we are getting close to concluding the webinar. I think perhaps the questions that remain are the ones that you'll get after you apply. Go ahead, Sam. If you want to, I wasn't sure, Sam, if you wanted to say
Just
anything.
thanking you for organizing this webinar and encouraging everyone to apply. And if you need a draft resolution, contact Bambi and she'll give you my information, and let's get everyone on board. Thank you.
So Sam, when you say resolution, which resolution are you referring to?
We did a draft. We have a business committee of chairman and 4 elected members, and they did a resolution making the 3 findings required by Order 22-8, that there was regularly scheduled hours, that there was staff, and there were materials available for library users. I mean, it doesn't hurt if you actually have those. And then you put in a resolution form to document that for the FCC.
Understood.
Yeah, that's what it takes to for a tribe to start a tribal library that is eligible under the FCC's ERate, under that FCC order. Just those 3 things, and that's great, Sam, to have a draft there for folks to be able to use.
Yeah. Let's not reinvent the wheel. Your actual design stuff is going to be the meat of it. So don't get caught up in the legalese. So
says anyway, the lawyer.
Pay some bills. Come on. Thank you, Bambi.
No, I want to thank you guys for joining us, but also thank the Wireline Competition Bureau. Sue and her team there just doing an amazing job as the subject matter experts that are really pushing the behind the scenes, all the paperwork that we need to do in terms of codifying this, memorializing all these steps. And then USAC, we thank you also for your dedication to helping tribes and tribal communities. So with that, I'm going to conclude and thank everyone for joining us today. And Lloyd, I think that I don't know if there's anything that's in chat that needs to be kept open, but otherwise I think we can conclude. Thank you all.